Okay, awesome.
All right, Joe, you are now the host. Take it over.
All right, so my PowerPoint should be loading here. All right, awesome. Can you guys see my my screen there?
Yep.
Okay, great. Let me just see if I can close the blinds. So someone's mowing the lawn right outside right now. Yeah, first of all, thank you, Earl, for giving me this time. I've actually been really, looking forward to talking about this with you guys for a long time. So I can't wait to show you what I've done. So I know I've talked to you guys like probably each a little bit separately about what I've been doing. But today I'm going to give you like a full overview of, what we've been doing with Q in the New Jersey division, what other managers have been doing around the country, what the product itself looks like, the plan for rollout, and sort of the next steps, for the whole product. So first I want to talk about the vision for Q. So the vision for Q is that it ends up in the hands of every single rep and every single office in the country, and that it can help improve the experience of every single rep and every single office, every single manager in the country. I think all of us like really truly believe in the how great the Vector experience can be as far as income, as far as an actual career path, as far as setting up some other career path, a vehicle for personal growth. Otherwise, we wouldn't be on this call. And I think we also all know that, unfortunately, lots of people don't take advantage of the opportunity, either by, not coming in or even coming in and not giving it their best. So the goal is that just by improving the experience a little bit, we can help more people take advantage of it. And 50,000 reps come through Vector every single year. And if we could improve the experience, just enough that 1% of those people would take it a little bit more seriously, that's still 500 people. And one of those 500 people could be the next division manager or be the next person who uses Vector as a launch pad to do something else outside, and then looks back and says, yeah, Vector helped me do that, and helps improve the reputation of Vector, across the country. So that's sort of the vision. And the goal is to get it in 80% of offices within the next 16 months. So that's sort of my goal. I'll tell you what exactly Q is. So Q is a platform that offices can onboard themselves onto, which consists of two apps. The first is a rep app that reps will make phone calls through, track their schedules, set their goals, be able to access some leaderboards and so forth. And then a manager app, which allows you to view basically all the information you'd want to know about your reps, and leverages the data that's created through the rep app to give you information that'll help you have, insights that'll help you coach those reps. And you'll also, do PDI through it, and you'll be able to track your own activity, not just the activity of your reps. And they both talk to the same cloud database that's actually hosted by Google. And both apps are available on the App Store and on Android. So it should be accessible to everyone. So that's sort of a quick overview of what Q is. I'll tell you who uses it now. So there's sort of like different stages of where people are at with it. But as far as like completed adoption and have like at least half the reps in their offices using it, obviously the district managers in New Jersey division, Greg, Owen, Darren, Gina. Then in the Florida Caribbean division, we've got Andrew Evans and Luke, who've been using this pretty much since like the first week before SC2. Then Devin Mitchell in Georgia has onboarded like right after SC2. Marlena Booth is a branch manager who's been on it. And then Denomar in Hawaii. And then as far as signed up onboarding, well, Devin actually just finished. then Colleen Dolan, Mike Abramowitz, Brett Johnson, Kaval Patel, who's one of the big Facebook Jumpstart people, Anthony Hayes, Austin Oberbalig in Washington, and then Andrew sort of presented Q at one of their division's last meetings. So Jeff Gembo's whole division is sort of onboarding to it now. And, we've got everyone set up, and Andrew's sort of walking them through how to use it and implement it in their office. So that's sort of where we're at. And I'll tell you, why does Q exist? So I sort of got the idea for Q during the Leadership Academy push in January 2018, which was right after my first summer. I was trying to win the trip to Miami, which is actually, the first trip that I won. And I was super excited to dig in after Kyle Preeman's talk at the end of SC2, at the end of Olean. But when I got to the office, I realized that I left all of my leads on my desk at school. So I came back and took this picture after when I got back after the break was over. But I basically had to start from scratch. I had to go back into my phone book, find all the chicken list people that I hadn't called, and then also add the people that I was so chicken to call that I hadn't even added them to my chicken list in the first place. I just remember that being a really, really stressful phone jam, and sitting there for like the first 90 minutes trying to set up my push period, trying to go after a really big goal that I'd already committed to, and just like really not getting any results because I was so nervous about calling people. I was just taking way too long to decide who to call, just sort of stalling as much as I could before before the next phone call. And I remember thinking, like, I really just wish I could have Greg just dial the numbers and hand me the phone and just tell me this is who you're talking to. And then because really the most anxiety driven part of phone jams is deciding who to call next. Once the phone's already ringing, once you're already on the phone with someone, like, it's okay. And so I decided, okay, why don't I just do this? I'm going to number all of these contacts. And I just went through my phone book, went like 1 to 50 or whatever it was. And I said, I'm going to call all these people in this order, no matter what. And I promised myself that after every single phone call, I wouldn't even think. I would just dial the next number that I'd, selected. And I had like the most productive phone jam I'd had in a really long time, set myself up really well, sold like 5K in like 4 days. And I sort of realized, like, we could build an app that would do this. So I went and I built a prototype. And when I was selling, the next summer after I piloted in Austin's office, I went from like being like an average phoner to like using this sort of prototype app that I just kind of coded up for myself that would, you queue people at the beginning and automatically dial through. And I ended up being like the number one or tied for number one rep, like at the phone jam every single week. And that was like totally new for me. So that was sort of like where I got the idea for Q. And after doing some more digging, like, we found out this is like actually a pretty, like a much bigger problem. So the problem with regular phoning, I want to pose a question to you guys. How many calls do you think a rep with 2 weeks plus experience should make per hour? So not counting like people who are really new, still like learning how to phone, someone who actually like knows enough to know what they're doing. How many calls should they make an hour?
25 to 30.
25 to 30. Yeah. I think most people would probably agree with that. So how many calls do you think reps actually make per hour?
5. Like a rep of that experience probably makes like 5 to 7 an hour.
Yeah. So a little more pessimistic than I actually was, but yeah, like it's really not that high. We did a phoning experiment, which I'll talk a little bit more about, and we found that, and this was during SC2, so it's probably a little more productive than usual. But we found that reps were making on average 15.4 calls per hour, and this was an experiment that we did across 3 offices during SC2. So with about 30 representatives, so making 15.4 calls an hour. And how many calls do you think it takes to book one demo, like outside of your first week? So your first week, like you can make like 3 calls and book 3 demos because you're calling your mom, your best friend's mom, and your coach, right? But outside of that, how many calls do you think it takes to book a demo?
I feel like
Do you mean
it changed
people
a
you
lot in
talk
the last
to,
2
or do you
years. I think
mean?
So like if you make 50 calls, how many demos do you expect to, like if you want to book one demo, how many calls would you expect to have to make to book that demo?
15.
15. Yeah. That's pretty close as far as what we found. So we found that if you're a more experienced rep, it actually is closer to 15, 16. But on average, looking at all the calls and all the demos that were booked in Owen Trapp's office and Greg's office this year, it turned out to be 9.5. So that includes like training and things like that. So basically what this means is that on average, reps are booking 1.6 demos an hour, right? And for a team meeting, which is usually a 90-minute or 2-hour phone jam, you're booking 2.4 to 3.2 demos, which is just not enough to sustain a representative, especially since most representatives probably don't phone any more than than the phone jam at the team meeting. And this is one of the biggest reasons why we see this attrition of representatives dropping out after they've already gotten through sort of the bottlenecks that is the interview, days 1, 2, and 3 of training. Just like starting and then doing it for a couple of weeks and fizzling out. Like they just don't book enough demos to sustain themselves. So the reason they're phoning so slow is it just takes too long to pick the next person to call in between phone calls. It only takes 30 seconds for a phone to ring to voicemail, and you're really never on the phone with someone for more than 2 minutes. So if you just were dialing, you really probably could make 30 plus calls in an hour. So that's the problem. What's the solution? The solution is at the beginning of the phone jam, like I did in that January phone jam, decide who you're going to call in advance, in what order, and then just dial through those people. Like if you even like just looking at this jumbled sheet of paper is like, it's kind of gives me anxiety. And I know that if you told me to just pick one person to call, I would probably take like a full minute to pick the next person I want to call. So here's what the solution looks like. So I'm going to show you what phoning through Q looks like. So can you guys see my phone here on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so instead of looking at a chaotic stack of papers, what you're going to do is spend 5 minutes deciding who you're going to call now. So let's just say I want to call Dad, AJ, Aaron, Abby, Adri, Jeff Bezos, and then I want to call Mrs. Jones, Donald Trump, and new contact here. And then maybe at the end I'll call Ashi and Asta. So now I have 11 contacts queued. I hit play and it takes me right to the first person. So I hit call and you can start calling. My dad actually might pick up, so I'm going to hang up. And then you can take any notes that that happened on the call. So I can say, has Cutco already? And all this stuff will save. And I can just mark the demo as booked. I can see their full call history there, book it for Friday, and move on right to the next person. And what this does is it eliminates that extra time that you spend choosing who to call. So now I can call AJ. Let's say AJ doesn't pick up. I can redial really quickly. If I've already called him a bunch of times, I can just shoot him a text. And the text comes up with basically exactly what you'd want to say. Hey, AJ, this is Joe. Wanted to reach out to see if you can help me out with something I'm working on. Can you give you a quick call? And if he was referred by someone, instead of like a personal contact, it would say, this is Joe Jordan, so-and-so's friend. So let's just say AJ didn't answer. Call Aaron. Let's say Aaron was driving. Call back later. I can mark him as a callback. For later today. Let's say it's 6 p.m. Done, and move on, right? And you kind of get the idea. and it'll track all your stats and so forth. And if you have autoplay on, once the queue is empty, let me just call through the remaining people here. I think Ashi was the last person. So if you have autoplay on, what it'll do is it'll go through all of your contacts and rank them based on a couple of different heuristics and just bring up the next best person that it thinks you should call. If you don't have autoplay on, it'll say the queue's empty and you can continue phoning in one tap and it'll bring up another good person it thinks you should call. So the whole idea is it's designed to just get you to call the next person as quickly as possible. So I'll end the session here and you can kind of see how that makes phoning a lot faster and a lot more organized. So now I want to actually show you some of the results of the experiment that we did. So what we did was we wanted to find out just how much of an advantage using Q gives you over normal phoning. So across 3 offices at an SE2 phone jam, in Greg's office, Darren's office, and Devin Mitchell's office, with 30 representatives, we randomly selected them into 3 groups: regular phoning, Q with no instruction, and Q where we gave them 5 minutes before the phone jam to queue at least 30 people before they made their first call. So again, it was just regular phoning, Q with no instruction, and Q where we said, okay, 5 minutes, queue 30 people before you make a single call. And they all had the same amount of time, and we're in the same room, at the same phone jam. And these were the results that we got. So regular phoning booked about 15.4, made about 15.4 calls per hour. Q with no instruction made 19.2. So that's already like a 25% increase. But then the guided queue, where we told them to queue 30 people at the beginning, made 29.7 calls per hour, which is almost twice what the regular phoning group did, which was really, really exciting. Now, it doesn't necessarily result in twice as many demos, because what we found is there's sort of a diminishing return to the number of calls that you make, because the first 15 calls are probably your best 15 people, and then the next 15 won't be as productive. But the guided queue group still booked 62% more demos than the regular phoning group, which 62% more demos, assuming that cancellation rate and closing percentage stays the same, also means 62% more sales. So this was really, 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 really cool finding. But that's not all. Like if it just makes you more productive and reps don't like it, it's really not useful. Reps also have to like the app. So I want to show you some statistics about, that we also took in this exit survey about reps' opinion on the app and how they felt during the phone jam. So the first chart here is attrition of phoning enthusiasm. So we asked them at the end of the phone jam, like, how would you feel if you had to make another 15 calls right now? And the people who did regular phoning were significantly less excited about possibly making another 15 calls. And then lead organization, how organized did you feel during the phone jam? People who used Q also felt significantly more organized. And my favorite stat, which is why, where I got the idea for Q from, was how anxious people felt during the phone jam. So people, who did regular phoning were about 30% more anxious than people who did normal Q. So the bottom line is that Q makes phoning suck less, which is actually like a really cool and really important bonus, because phoning is the toughest part of the job, and I think it's one of the biggest places that we lose people. Now I want to read you some testimonials also from what is your honest overall opinion of Q. So let me see. Lowers my overall anxiety, awesomely helpful compared to last year, helpful, almost forces me to make calls, super helpful, good contact organization, makes it easier to make mass calls, schedule appointments. I love it, how it organizes my jam, made phoning very organized, and so on and so forth. So the overall satisfaction with Q was 4.2 on a scale of 1 to 5. And 86% of people agreed that it was a useful tool that helped them, and the other 14% just use it because the other 86% do, and probably still are more productive anyway, even if they don't realize it. So those are sort of the results that we've seen. So that's sort of the rep app. And again, this was started as an idea specifically to help representatives. And then we sort of realized that with all the data that we're generating from this, like we could really help out managers too, and probably like give you all of the web data that you get in Web PDI plus more stuff without you having to enter anything. So here's why Q Sales Team, which is the manager app, exists. So I sort of put together a list of useful information like that would probably be good to have when you're having a PDI call with a rep, and like especially like a PC where you probably spend like kind of the first half of the PC trying to figure out exactly what the problem is. So number of demos that reps have, obviously, demo goals of the reps, the number of recs they have, sort of their schedule, the average number of recs they're getting every demo, their closing percentage, cancellation rate, the percentage of the people who answer the phone that they book as demos, how many calls they're actually making. If they're not booking demos, is it because of too many callbacks or too many declines? Because those are two different solutions, right? Their demo history, their call history, and how many calls they need to hit their goal. So if someone has a goal, you can just say, okay, you need to make this many calls. When can we commit to making those calls? And then I made a list of the information you actually have using Web PDI if you collect it constantly, which is just two of those things, right? The number of demos they have and their demo goals, which is helpful for driving activity. But if you really want to meaningfully coach someone, it actually takes a really long time to dig and get these numbers. And most of the time you're just relying on their estimates, which are wildly inaccurate anyway. So now I'll sort of show you the solution, which, Q Sales Team, like I said, will leverage the data generated by your sales reps to give you the coaching insights that you need. So we'll go back to my phone here. And you're going to see some of the numbers from our office here. So there's going to be still some significant changes made to this, where we're going to replace contacts here with like demos and demo goals, just like you see in Web PDI. But you can see a list of all the active representatives, and you can see their upcoming schedule, how many contacts they have, their phoning history, and then their full demo history right here, and what's coming up next. So for Albert, there's not really much, but actually I'm looking at inactive reps. So let me pull up Alexis, for example. So this is awesome. So you can see sort of her full phoning history. She's made 1,900 calls, booked 169 demos. So her call to demos ratio is sort of like in the 12 range. You can see her schedule. She's got 9 upcoming demos, when they are, who they were with, and so forth. And you can give her a call in one tap, you can text her in one tap, and so forth. So if anyone's phoning in your office, you can see a list of all the people that are currently phoning. So I'm not like the account you just saw is not linked to the office, but if it was, you would see a list of all. You'd see my entry here and all the calls I just made, and you'd see them ranked. You can rank it by demos or calls. You can see all the demos that are coming up in your office. You can choose any single date, and you can look at the full phoning logs for any date range that you choose. And this is sort of just the tip of the iceberg with what's going to be available by next month. So the point is, you get all this information, and it's a lot easier to to coach reps and figure out exactly sort of what they need in PDI. So by next month, with that list of useful information, you're going to have all of it at your fingertips for PCs, for PDI, and so forth. So how do you use Q? So both of these apps were designed with the number one priority being ease of use, and they were designed so that you could learn it without any sort of extra tutorial or instruction. Obviously, it's faster if you get some instruction, you have someone walk you through it, but they're designed to be very, very intuitive. So now I'm going to sort of give you like a very detailed walkthrough and try and tell you everything there is about sort of both apps. So I'll start with the rep app. So the first thing you see when you log in is your events and sort of your stats. So you can see how many contacts you have right away. So reps, don't have to actually go through and count and figure out, did I really book a demo with that person or not? is that person a callback or is it a decline? You can see right there. It tells you how many calls it takes you to book a demo on average and your booking percentage. You can see all the upcoming events and all your recent events, your phone jams, how many calls you made, how many demos you booked, and so forth. Let's say I have to call back Aaron at 6 o'clock comes around. I can tap this arrow, go right to his profile, and call him in one tap. So when you're, okay, so how do you add contacts? So adding contacts is designed to be really, really fast, and it takes about 20 seconds to add a contact. So if someone has 100 contacts, they should be able to add all of those people in, I guess that'd be, should have done this math ahead of time, but so in about half an hour. So the idea is you can really onboard someone even if they have a lot of contacts very quickly. So when you're adding contacts, you just put who they were referred by, and then you can add all of the people who referred them at once. If they're a personal contact, there won't be someone who referred them, but you put in the name, the phone number. You can star them, which will put them at the top of the call screen, and you'll be able to see that they're starred when you're calling them. You can take any notes that you want on them, and if you want, you can add tags that you can use for additional filtering. So, like for example, sometimes reps will have lots of contacts in different counties, so you can add different counties as tags here. So I can add Bergen County, and now Bergen County becomes one of my saved tags, and I can use it as a tag for any one of my upcoming saves. So then when I go back to the contact screen, I can filter by any of these tags. So there's no Cutco owners, or I don't think I've marked anyone as any of these, but you get the idea. Then you can also import contacts. So this is this is sort of what you're mostly doing in training, is importing contacts. So if you want to import contacts, you go to settings, import, and then it'll give you a list of everyone here. And the default will be to mark someone as a friend, which then will give them the opportunity to text that person for their parent's number, or they can mark them as a customer. And then if they're a customer, they can star them. When you click next, it'll give you an opportunity to text anyone that you marked as a friend. So for example, Al, I guess, is a made up phone number here. So I can just shoot them a text really quickly. And the managers will be able to customize this text and ask for their friend's number. So then you hit finish, and all the contacts you imported will show up here. And the ones that you added as new will have that little new tag there. And then when you go to brainstorm, this is where you see all your friends. So you can, this is where if you think of someone who you want to get, but you don't have the number for, you can add them here. Or you can text any of those friends that are saved. And then once you get the number, you can just copy and paste it right here. So this is more for people who do 2-day training. Like for Owen, what he does is he has them brainstorm people through the app and then text all their friends. And then, as the numbers are coming back in, he has them copy and paste them here. And once the numbers copy and pasted here, like, you can just put a random number. Then that'll put that person into your contacts. Yeah, Mrs. Smith's in there. So that's sort of how the importing and onboarding works. You can also dial people directly if you just want to sit down, you have numbers that you haven't inputted. So you dial whatever number you have, and then even as it's ringing, you pretty much have time to put in the person's name, star them, add whatever notes you want, and so forth. And then it'll save that person, going forward. So we can see Joseph Jordan right here in the recently called section. So, so that's sort of like a detailed walkthrough. It'll put everyone in the proper folders. So active contacts, when you first go to the screen, it'll only show you people that you probably should be calling. Then anyone who you marked as a callback, anyone who you've booked, and then anyone who's declined. And then you can also filter here by those same things. So it also saves to calendar, so you can decide what calendar you want it to save to, any Gmail calendar or Apple calendar. And it will also save contacts to your device if you want to. And it'll save them. What's a good example? I'm not sure if I have any saved to my phone. But if it's someone who's a referral, it'll say their name and then in parentheses the person who referred them in your contacts. So when they call back, that'll come right back up. So that's a detailed walkthrough of the rep app. Then the manager app basically just has 4 sections. Your reps, a dashboard, which is going to have much more information by next month. Then you can see the live leaderboards, which we typically project during phone jams onto the TV, which I can show you guys how to do. And then the demo schedule, which by next month, you'll also be able to mark them as checked in or checked out and so forth. And as reps check back in through their app, you'll be able to see the results and they'll be color coded and so forth. So that was kind of a lot. It's a lot more detailed than I would go into probably in explaining it to a rep in their first time, because I want you to sort of understand like everything about it. Like anything, it's probably a lot easier once you're actually have it in your hand and you can play around with it. But again, like we tried to make it as intuitive as possible, and we really haven't had many issues with reps like not really knowing how to use it. Pretty much everything, if you need to look for it, is there if you want to find it. Like you need to reschedule a demo, you hit the pen, you choose when you want the demo to be. You need to cancel a demo, you can cancel it right there and they'll move right back into your active contacts. You can toggle whether they're starred or not and so forth. You can edit events from here as well. So that's really the idea.
How much time you got left, Joe? Just so.
Yeah, probably like 5 minutes left before questions. Or is that, do I have 5 minutes left, period?
Go ahead. Fire in 5.
Okay. So, I'll just go from here. So how do I implement Q in my office? So in training, all you need to do is send them to getq.com and they can download it from here. They can click the Android or the iOS download. It'll take them right to it. They can sort of read more about it if they want to. Try to make it look really professional so they can it'll build credibility. All you have to do on day 1 is walk them through adding contacts and then give the assignment to add, whatever contacts they would normally on paper through the app instead. Then quick walkthrough of how to phone before the first phone jam, which is basically just showing them 4 phone calls on, like, this is what you do when you book the demo, this is what you do when they call back and so forth. Then make the contest through the app. Whatever contest you do, just make sure you finish it within the app. So if it's like 10 demos through the app. If it's 15, 100 contacts in the app and so forth. Have them queue their top 15 and phone. And that's really all we've changed in training. And we've haven't had any issues in the New Jersey division. If you want to get people started at a team meeting, same thing. Send them to getq.com, give them 20 minutes to add their top 40 contacts, show them how to phone. Then again, make some contests through the app, put the leaderboards on the screen, and then have them phone. Like it really is very simple, and people tend to pick it up pretty quickly. Like our target market is very familiar with apps and technology, and they use apps that are significantly more complicated than Q on a daily basis. So what's still left to build? Rep setting goals in the app, which will be done by next week. Queuing reps for PDI, just like reps queue customers. In the next 2 weeks, attendance and event creation in the manager side. In the next 2 weeks, reps checking out a demo, so you get all that information automatically in the next 3 weeks. Then I want to put leaderboards in the rep app that will show up right as they enter the app, like who in your office made the most demos this week, made the most calls this week, and so forth, sort of drive activity. And then a web version by early December. So what's next? The release game plan is for the next 3 months from September, October, November, December. to have a universal trial period where anyone can onboard their office completely for free, because the fall is a place where you're probably not having, the biggest sales weeks, and you're also like not having the biggest team, so it's sort of safe to experiment. Then after that, for the first year, obviously, like I can't just do all this stuff for free. I do want to actually get compensated for it. So the plan is to charge the same as what WebPDI charges, since we're going to basically replace it, add more functionality, and make your reps also directly more productive for the first year. And then have an aggressive referral program where if you refer someone, you get a month free and they get a month free. And then over the course of the next year, build better features, add a newsletter, provide insights from the national-wide data that we're generating, and then continue at $89 and $99 a month starting in January. And the idea is that Q pays for itself with the productivity increase. So booking 62% more demos. And in our office, in Greg's office this year, our productivity of our top 40%, our top like 40th percentile of reps more than doubled. And in the last week of SC2, like last year, we were a top team because we had 80 reps on the team that weren't really very good. This year, we didn't have very many reps at all, but they were all really good, which is why we were a top team. So in 2018, in the last week of SC2, we sold 65K with 61 reps. And then this year, we sold 60K with 31. So like half the representatives, almost as much, as many sales. So how you guys can help, what I need you guys to do is use it, learn it, and give me feedback. This is going to be something that helps your office, helps your division, and most importantly, helps your reps get more out of the Vector experience. And I need all the feedback I can get. And if you guys are going to be able to really use this in your division, you guys have to be the people that really know it well. And you definitely won't regret it. I'm confident in it. Greg's confident in it. The whole Florida Caribbean division is confident enough to get on it. And, reps are loving it and we're seeing results with it. So I can take any questions, and then I guess I can send you the link to sign up, and I can email you guys follow-up instructions about onboarding your office and sort of the game plan going forward.
Any questions? I know you guys might be tight on time, and if so, we can also invite Joe back for a future call. But any questions you want to ask now?
This isn't a question, Joe, but thanks for your explanation and putting together like PowerPoint and all those sort of things. I thought you did a thorough job explaining everything. So I feel like I have a much better understanding.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for listening.
I know that we're going to have time next week at a DVM meeting, Joe, and I'm sure that some of them might want to pick Greg's brain since he's got that firsthand experience in using it. That would probably be helpful. So Greg, you might want to be ready for that. I know the one question I would ask is, how long does it take for someone to do a names list walkthrough? Like when you do that as part of training, is that a 5-minute thing? Is that a 10-minute thing? Is that a, where you're kind of showing them how to use it? Like what have you found, Greg, doing it live?
it takes about the same amount of time. But what I would do, what I'm actually doing this week is well, I guess I can't since I was on the call, but what I plan to do is have them download the app before the lunch break. And then that way, when I get to the app portion of the names list talk, I don't have to it probably takes, 3 to 5 minutes for them to go to getq.com, download the app, and then log in. And then once it's logged in, I just pull up my phone on the screen, and then it's the same process. So I would say if anything, just add, 10 minutes or create like 10 minutes of cushion room in your training. Otherwise, the majority of the whole talk is the same. So,
all right. And how about the phone calls when you have to show them how to, is that another 5-10 minutes?
5, if that.
All right. Yeah. That's what I figured. I'm just asking because I haven't done it. So it's like, when you haven't done it, it feels harder than it probably is, so, okay. All right, Joe, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. You have the DVMs on a group code. You can send it to them now. Like I said, We're probably going to discuss this. I'm sure they're going to ask Greg some questions next week, and then that'll give him a chance to talk about it. And if we have further questions where we need to pull you back on, I'll reach out to you one-on-one. So, okay.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'll send you guys instructions on how to get started. And then if any of you guys want to get like individual calls with me, I would be more than happy to.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Joe. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know how I stopped making Joe the host. Or does Joe have to make me the non-host now?
No, you go down to participants and you can reclaim host.
Reclaim. No, it said rename. I don't want to rename.
I think I just made you the host.
All right, cool. Let me stop the recording now.